We're going to commence the Town of Sangerville Board of Selectmen special meeting. It's 5 p.m., May 9th, 2018. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item 2, new business. We have Jeff Willey and Jerry Rush from the fire department. I guess we're gonna have a discussion. Thanks very much for coming, first of all.
So what ended up, the reason why this all come to be was after town meeting, I hadn't seen you for a little bit, or either one of you, and I see Joey one day at work, and I asked him about, you know, how what he thought of the meeting and how the budget and all that stuff went. And so we were just talking back and forth, and I asked, you know, I mentioned how I knew he was going to be chief for another year. You know, what was the thought of the guys as far as who's the next chief? Was you going to step up to be the next chief, or somebody else, or whatever? And he, you know, he said, well, we haven't really sure, but bloody blah. And then I told him, I said, well, one thing that I would like to see happen throughout the summer, I said, is the board and the fire department just talk back and forth. I said, not saying that there's anything wrong with the fire department's budget, but how do we look at the budget and try to keep things under control so that we can maintain for, you know, longer down the road? And the response I got was, the budget's not gonna be the issue. He says, you're not gonna have a department before you ever worry about budget. And I go, what do you mean? That's not gonna be the issue. And he was explaining about, you know, the turnover that's happening. A lot of the people that are in the area, they're going to different departments to be on. Low call volume as far as people showing up and stuff like that. So that was the concern. After that conversation, I brought that up in a board meeting, that we ought to have a workshop or have you guys come to a meeting just so you understand or you know what I'm hearing, and find out if it's an issue or is it what's going on with it. So at the same time.
So shortly after that, as you both know, that my husband and I both do the physicals for the fire department. So we have been down to Dover and we've been over to Guilford. And so Travis Sally and I had a conversation, and I said to Travis, you know, geez, this year I'd really like to see some work done inside the fire department. There's a citizen that every single year takes pride in probably would like not to be pointing up to the ceiling and saying, you know, there's insulation missing from the roof. And I will say that, you know, we do the physicals upstairs in the fire and here. And, you know, it's cluttered. It's filled with all old stuff. And Travis, you know, he said, oh, you know, I'm painting and I'm volunteering right now and I'm painting, and he said, what, is everybody complaining? Are all the citizens complaining? I said, no, this is coming from me. This is something that I would like to spearhead as one of the selectmen and say, you know, I'd like to shepherd this through as far as getting our fire department looking as neat and pristine and top notch. It's a matter of pride, as these two other departments. And he basically said to me, we can do it, but we just don't have the volunteers. And I said, volunteers like townspeople? He said, no, we just don't have the workforce in the department itself. And, you know, he said, basically it's the same 3 people showing up every single time to do that type of work. And I said, well, you know, what about recruiting? And he said, we don't have enough money to recruit. And then I did also say to him, you know, I was taken aback. I guess I'm naive. We were over in Guilford and I'm seeing Sangerville residents who are on that department. You know, we're firefighters in Guilford as opposed to being firefighters in Sangerville. So And, you know, I didn't talk to him about that. But anyway, the long and the short of it was, there's just not enough manpower to do that work, and showing up for calls. And so I did tell him, it wasn't that I had spoken to citizens, it was me just sitting there and saying, wow, the room that we do the physicals in Dover is this pristine, beautiful room. In Guilford, pristine, not a thing out of place that you're tripping over or anything else. You know, I'd like to see our fire department like that. So that's was the conversation that I had. And so we, you know, I brought that up at one of the meetings for when the selectmen can say their concerns. And Dale then said he had a similar type of conversation. And so we decided, well, let's not sit around and talk about it. Let's talk to the leaders, the heads that can do something about it. So that's what sort of prompted this meeting.
Yeah, we got firefighters from Guilford on here too, and Dover.
So there you
You
go.
know, I mean, it's kind of like a preference,
Mhm.
where they want to be on, but
everybody's had up on people. It's not,
you know,
if you ask Guilford, they'll tell you the same exact thing. You can't get people. They come and they go and
we've had what, 5 that joined. They lasted month, 2 months maybe, and got done. You know, I mean,
and it's not that we're doing anything. We have to. You have to have this training.
Correct.
And if they haven't got the ambition to do the training,
Then I'll get correct.
you can't.
Oh,
You know.
oh yeah.
You know, and it's not. It takes a lot of time. It's the whole thing, and a lot of them today. I don't. Today, people are different than they were back years ago.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Isn't
It's a lot.
that the truth?
He was on Gilbert. Back then, they were proud to be there.
Exactly.
Now they come and some of them are in it for a paycheck, but I don't know why.
It's only been on the select board.
Yeah, I said,
Yeah. No, and I will say that Travis, and I know Travis, you know, works for us, and he takes great pride,
Oh, yeah.
pride,
Oh, yeah,
and he's
yeah.
proud of the position he has there, and I know he works, you know, he is there. So I will say, I mean, he's out there fighting for the fire, you know,
Oh, yeah.
he's spreading the good word about the fire department, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
is trying to recruit. So you know, he was not in any way
Right.
disparaging his fire department. But he was frustrated. He's frustrated because he wants everyone else to have the same enthusiasm, the same amount of dedication, and it doesn't exist.
I grew up in Dexter. I went to high school there. I was born there, and there was all sorts of enthusiasm around the fire department in Dexter. I mean,
Oh, we used to have a waiting list.
yeah, and their grandfather did it, their dad
Right,
did
it's
it,
a
they
culture.
did.
It's a family culture.
And of course, a lot of my classmates, they stayed in Dexter. They worked in Dexter, one of the various factories, and raised their families there. And I wonder if the demographics now have just changed so much
Well,
that
that's it.
it's a lot harder.
We had, we had 5 or 6 on Sangerville that was in Guilford, Guilford, Maine.
Yeah.
And
a pride.
Hyde and Hadwood,
You know,
and now
We had crew.
they've gone everywhere,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's so hard to get somebody that's in the daytime. It's scary. Guilford's worse off than we are. We can usually pretty well get 6 every time it's in the daytime. The rest of these towns can't.
Wow.
And it's scary.
Wow.
And some of them, you know, you get a little shaky on anyway.
Well, we went to Dexter yesterday to
Yeah, there was
a fire.
Was it a field?
Barn.
A barn?
Then it went to wildland fire.
Oh.
And we got back to the station, I'm standing, I'm counting 10 cents a gear going on a Dexter during the day. Well,
Yeah, it was evening though.
yeah.
Yeah, it was late, cause I was going to the golf course.
They had about 10 guys. But then they called Corona and us, and I think Newport was there actually. So,
Yeah, so good. They were from everywhere. But
yeah.
Wow.
Wind was
A lot
blowing.
of them. But I mean, Dexter, they had 10 guys.
Yeah.
So,
So it's not just our problem.
no.
No.
It's a community problem, the whole community.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I mean, and then we can have people that do wanna come on, which you wouldn't want on in the first place.
Whole other problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that don't even tie their shoelaces.
You know.
You know,
Which, I mean, I know you guys do a lot of stuff that a lot of the other departments don't do as well. I mean, to try to get people. You do have the juniors, which I know a lot of the areas don't do that now.
Yeah, yeah, we do, and it, you know,
Yeah, we just lost one of them.
yeah, which is,
Who else is going to
well, she's
school?
going to college.
Yeah, so.
Well, she'd come on to the department, but
Yeah.
she's going to college, so that's.
But I would well, she was from Guilford. There's another one, there's one
Oh,
right there
oh,
from
that's
Guilford.
interesting. So it's just
And,
that,
Well, it's his niece, huh?
Yeah,
oh,
Well, it is, that's right.
sorry.
No,
And it's, the department does need to be swamped out, big time.
yeah,
We got so much junk in there, that's just,
and I mean,
we just gotta get rid of it,
stuff that, you know,
yeah. It's just collected.
yeah, you know, I mean, and I, you know, personally, it's just, I would like to see that done. I would like, first of all, I would like not to be, for that citizen who now, it's a running joke that he points us up every annual, on every town meeting, and, you know, nothing's been done here, hello. I'd like to prove him wrong next year at town meeting, you know, that it's ship shape, that insulation is up there and it's taped and, you know what I mean?
and we've talked about getting a dumpster out there,
Well,
but,
And just, it's,
Yeah,
throw it, get rid of it.
decades
you know what
worth
I
of
mean?
buildup.
right, and, you know, and as Travis said, he's like, oh, yeah, 3 of us will be there doing it, or
Yeah.
whomever, but, you know,
it's like, he and I enjoy, every Sunday, you'll see us over here. Every Sunday, I don't care,
yep,
unless I'm in Florida,
Yeah.
which hopefully I am there.
right,
But, I mean, no, it's,
Yeah, the insulation, that was, well, I was chief back in, what, 2000 that area. And we wanted to insulate the roof. So I got a price from Andy Lovell when he was working. He was gonna come in, he was gonna strap it, screw all the insulation right up to the strapping.
wow,
Well, the selectmen at the time didn't like the price. So they went and they got somebody else to come in and they stuffed it between the purlins.
uh-huh.
And it just didn't stay.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not gonna hold it
really,
up.
it's just,
It was cheaper.
it was cheaper, yeah, I will tell you that, it was cheaper.
Oh my gosh, so there's no adhesive or
No,
anything?
there's nothing.
It's just wedged.
Switch. And that's a small piece.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
you'll see a few
That's-
pieces of wood that's
Yeah,
kicked up in there trying to hold it, and then a little bit of tape here and there where they done it,
and that's heated, right? I mean, it's heated.
oh, sure.
Yeah, so, you know, so there's a twofold, you know,
I mean, to myself, I would think that you'd wanna do like Andy was gonna do, strap it and then screw all the insulation to it and then wintertime, we have an awful problem with ice building up and water
oh, yeah.
and it's ripped the, vent pipe for the sewer. I don't know how many times I put it back together,
Well, one
because the ice
They
comes off.
replaced that side of the building once, and it's just as bad now as it was before they replaced it.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's ice crashing down and then hitting the side of the building.
Yeah,
I don't think they keep it cleaned up. What is
Exactly.
it?
The town used to plow that.
Used to keep that all cleaned right out.
And then, I don't know why, how it happened, it changed. So
You mean down along the side of the,
Yeah.
So that used to be plowed.
The bucket loader, and they
That's it,
buried
the
it,
loader.
scooped that all right out.
and the guy that, Dana Gray, he said, they asked him if he could do it, and he said, sure. He said, it'd be awful nice if it took a second sweep, so they always did. They
Sure,
cleaned that right out.
right, sweep out his little bit of that on the way
Yeah.
by.
But
They already
somehow,
got 3/4 of
somewhere,
it.
somebody decided that, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that was,
I know I almost cried when I come back, and that brand new wall just, cause I was in there when I did it one time, and all that insulation up on that styrofoam on that wall, blew that right out. I was in there. I said, what the heck, now, what, no. I was in insulation,
Wow.
jeez.
So that's something that, I mean, it seems like, I mean, to preserve the building, we need to plow on the other side,
Yeah, no, it definitely should.
or.
But they
bucket
may
load.
have, and I don't know, maybe they got a bigger bucket loader, and I don't know, what all of a sudden.
the bucket loader used to go between the station and that barn,
Yeah, right,
back then.
cause it had
I
to
don't
be
think the one
cleaned,
we got now is any bigger than the one they had before, as
I
far as
don't
width.
know if it is or not.
but they used to have to clean it out so they could fill that oil tank.
Ah,
Well, the year before last, the guy was going out around this way, climbing over the snowbank to get to the,
from this parking lot.
yeah.
yeah,
Jeez.
and he was on the ice up.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, I don't know.
Do you ever network, I mean, I know you network with other fire departments all the time, but as far as brainstorming, you know, as far as this drain of just bodies, and how,
I've talked to, that county meeting, I've talked to them,
I have a meeting every
and
month.
it's,
okay.
you know, it's like it everywhere. And it's shocking, I mean, it's, with
Right.
all these mills that it shut down, it just, the workers are going out of town, and you just,
That, you've got a different way of thinking nowadays with the younger generation.
yeah.
I mean, they're not
Well, they got so many more things they can be doing, like computers and
something, and then,
It's just so much smaller. My graduating class in '79 from Dexter was 120 students. I think they have 120 students in the whole school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So it's just, I mean, I agree, you know, we've gotta take care of the building and it should be cleaned up and all, but really, to me, the more critical problem is this manpower problem, because this is not going away.
No,
It's probably gonna get worse.
well, if you had a radio and listened to Guilford, you know how bad it is. I'll tell you.
It's
I've
just the
gone-
reality of our situation.
Right, right.
I've had some relatives that they've called first responders for, and I've gone up, I've never seen them. They never showed up.
That Guilford's never shown up?
Yeah.
So they're not getting people to,
No,
it seemed like a bigger group of, you know.
and you're getting older people, I mean,
Well, and our
That's the whole
population,
thing.
our population is only getting older.
Yeah.
Young people are not moving into our area.
No, there's no place to work.
Right. So, you know, and that, you end up getting more calls for help from the fire department because, right, old people need.
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
And, you know, I don't know. I didn't realize, we did way more physicals over in Guilford than we ever have done in
In Sangerville.
Sangerville, yeah. Is that just because more of them are wearing air packs?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
being certified to wear
they
air
got more
packs?
younger guys.
Yeah, that was my impression, that it was just it was a more youthful group over there.
Yeah.
I was surprised, it was a good number, there must have been 20 or so that we did. 20,
Yeah.
13, 20? So I don't know where they are, whether they're out of town during the day?
I think that's it, I mean,
Could be working in Bangor.
Oh.
you know, well, it's like Wanda, right, she's working in
Bangor.
Bangor, Belfast or somewhere half-time.
So they're not obviously coming, they're not showing up for anything that goes on during the day?
No, and she was here all the time on the day.
Right, right.
So, you know, that kinda takes another one with you.
Well, then, last week, this kind of went into a different direction, or a different thought process, or a different, we had a recent inquiry of employment through Public Works, and one of his references was Mr. Gillette. So when Lois talked to Tommy, Thursday or Friday or whatever, the end of the week, he kind of hinted about a possibility of conversations of the two departments working more together or becoming one or something in the future. It wasn't a right now conversation, that's the conversation for now. There hasn't been any more talk about it, but that got thrown on the table at the end of last week. My opinion is when Lois told me about it that's great, I like, Tommy's reaching out or whatever, but until we talk with you guys and have an idea of what's going on and a direction of how we would pursue anything, even if it's to find something out. Maybe one of you involved in part of that conversation. I don't know. Or if it's something that we shouldn't even have the conversation.
Well, we got mutual aid with them, I mean.
Yeah, and that, that, you wouldn't get any more people. With mutual aid, you call them and they come, so you won't get any more people than you get if it was the way it is now.
I mean, to me, it would be to start something like that, maybe page up both departments on certain calls, automatic.
Years
Keep the
ago,
crew.
we had set it up so that they would do that. And then somehow it went from
one extreme to the other, because that's when I was getting off.
it went to, and then it went down to the radio room in the sheriff's office and stopped right off that way.
Well, because it was pulling, I remember that, I mean, they set it up that whenever you had a structure fire call, if it was in Sangerville, it automatically toned Sangerville, Guilford, Dexter, Dover.
Yeah.
You got all these trucks and all this expenses rolling, and then you show up, first guy shows up and calls everybody off, because it was a
Yeah, but it don't cost you
open
anything.
book of matches.
But that doesn't cost you anything. Saying, you don't pay for mutual aid. So it's not costing you anything.
Unless we're going to mutual aid.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Well, and it was that,
Then we'll pay for
and you
that.
had a lot of employers that were complaining. Because a lot of, they were paying for both sides.
Everybody would
of
show
this.
up,
Yeah.
yeah. Some more people are leaving work.
But they, like I said, they set it up and it went, and they've tried to do it again. They're trying now. And the thing is, now they're getting the towers all set up. One's gonna be on Charleston Hill. The one in Quebec is going up another 100 feet.
May I join you?
Sure.
Sure.
And the one up here, they're going up on the windmill.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say as that's working real well.
Not yet, is it? No.
Not yet, but of course they changed us from high
Wide
band to
band.
low band,
Wide, narrow band.
narrow band, and that
That threw a monkey wrench and everything.
so radios don't work and
Oh, gosh.
it.
So now, who is this, the county? Who's
State
changed,
changed.
the state changed the
Federal, I think
thing?
it's federal.
Federal.
Oh,
I think it's federal, yeah. They made everybody go,
Everybody
they
meaning
went narrow band,
firefighters
so
or
that makes more
specific?
channels, available.
Right,
Right.
right.
Supposedly.
So, and you then only have one of those bands?
Well, we got, like CD net and we got a fire attack channel.
But there's only one that radios that if we're talking
Yeah,
to
pages
Right.
off.
anybody, to that
Right.
one channel.
And there's I mean, you know, what I'd like to see is a list of pros and cons of consolidate. And we're not, I mean, we're brainstorming with you. We would like to, I think, and I might brainstorm.
Well, Tommy and I had a discussion on this,
Okay.
and I'm gonna, not this year. And he says, well, and I don't know who he was talking to down here. But I can't remember if Ken was here or who, but anyway. He says, yeah, we'll charge you guys, we'll charge Sangville $50,000. And we'll take over the station, we'll have a crew in the station, at the station. And I said, so you're gonna charge $50,000, my budget's $52,000.
Right.
And we're gonna still have to pay for the trucks we got, so we're gaining what? Nothing.
No, correct.
The budget part of it, that's all would have to be negotiated, if this is even something we can consider. My concern is, if demographically, the reality is, we're gonna have trouble fielding a team. If it takes 12 guys to play the game, and we can only get 6, and they can only get 6, that's just the reality. We're eventually not gonna field a team. Now, that may not be the reality. Maybe we can recruit, and be more effective. But if we exhaust all those possibilities, and we honestly look at each other and say, you know what? We don't have the critical mass. We are just not gonna be able to field a team. I think all of the communities are gonna have to have a serious conversation about how we're going to provide these services. Now, maybe we're not there yet. The 50,000 in the building, that part doesn't really scare me, because at the end of the day, we're all gonna have to figure out how to provide these services. But if what you guys, I mean, I really appreciate, you've been really forthcoming with what's going on in these other towns, and we may not solve this problem this summer, but this thing is not going away.
Oh, no, it's not gonna go away.
And I think it's good we're having these conversations.
Right.
So we've been looking for somebody, people to come on, and, we have heard a couple suggestions about putting it in the paper, but I don't know if that's something we wanna do, or.
We've been trying to hire some part-time help, and it's not easy.
No.
Like you said,
We've got a web page too. I mean, you guys are more than
Oh,
welcome.
yeah,
We
there you go.
can do something. for
and
you guys on
MMA will
that.
let us run ads for free.
Oh,
but
that's right.
What we find out is kind of what you said earlier. Quite often, the people that are willing to do it, you don't really want.
No,
Right.
So it's not easy.
it's not.
And to make it more difficult, you've got every town around you competing for those
Same people.
same people.
Right, because that's the bad part. There's never been a line drawn that said, you're in Sangerville, you gotta go on Sangerville. You're in Guilford, you gotta go on Guilford. Or Dover has to go on Dover. It's always been this free trade.
In fact,
I never knew that.
as
Yeah.
these firemen become
I
more
worked in
difficult to
Sangerville, stayed
find,
on Guilford for a while.
you're gonna find towns more open to, I don't care if you live in Milo.
Right.
Because we need you so bad. I mean,
Right.
So like I said, I'm sure we're not gonna solve this problem this summer, but I don't think this is going away.
I am very curious to what he is thinking though, myself.
Tom?
Not saying it's the direction I wanna go, but I know, I've had this conversation with Jeff before. And I've always known the number that he's saying, and so I mean, I know that's what that was, and I just curious to what he's thinking now.
Yeah, and it's like Packman and them, they jumped at what they have to pay.
Right.
Like, I don't, we're ain't asking, it was, this is what you got paid.
Yeah, you don't have choice once you're at that point.
Yeah,
Right.
Correct.
so, it is what it is, I guess.
Or is there a way to have it be like a joint thing, so it wouldn't have to be a Guilford or a Sangerville? How do you have the two synergies work together?
Well,
I mean, I understand how mutual aid but how do you take it to a difference?
The mutual aid is the biggest thing that is helping everybody right now. And, but I talked to Jeff just last month, and he and I were talking, we're gonna start doing a lot more training together.
Mm-hmm.
But, like I said, he's just about in the same shape we are. There's no,
What about doing like a community service kind of thing to garner interest, but still like a blood drive, you have your information there to talk to people, and then you're also collecting blood for a good cause, to maybe spark some interest, invite them into the station, that way they get a view of maybe what's there, and if they want to be part of that.
I don't know.
I'm of the other belief that if you wanted to be on the department, you would already be there. I mean, I was on a waiting list when I joined. I think I was 6 or 7 months before
Wow.
I could get on the department.
Wow.
But I still showed up every weekend, or I showed up at practices, and nope, you couldn't be the one in the burning building, but at least you could be involved.
Right.
And then because I wasn't the only one that used to be on that waiting list. When you signed up, there was 4 or 5 other guys. So when that opening come up, that didn't mean it was you.
Right.
They had to. They could pick and choose who they took
Wow.
before.
The old days.
Wow.
Yeah, now
So I don't know. That's just. We just want to make sure you guys knew what we were hearing.
Right, and that's exactly right, and, I think it's a great idea to get a dumpster.
But I mean, if there's anything we can, if there's anything we can do to help,
You can use mine. I pay for it every month, and I don't know that there's a whole lot of trash in it.
No, and they'll bring one for next to nothing and sit it there for a
By the
day.
Public Works?
How about we set it down here for a week? When they come up through, you could have them tip that and have them put it over here. These
Yeah,
guys
but
could
You
do
can
it.
fill it
This
with
is a
anything
real
you
one.
want.
it's a
They're not-
wooden one up there. It's built
Oh,
up
it's-
right
Oh,
up.
you guys
built.
don't, they don't have a metal dumpster?
No.
We don't?
Oh.
Where do you,
How do they
it's not
dump
like
it?
a bolsters?
They
They
do.
get in it,
They get
clean
in
it
it,
out.
they clean it out.
Oh, I thought he said he dumped
That's
it
where
and
we take
tipped
our
it.
trash up there and put it in.
Well, unless they put one up there.
Recently.
No, that is what's
We
that,
pay $20 a
that's
month,
what they charge to pick up.
Yeah.
just for trash pickup.
Yeah, you pay 30 and they'd have a dumpster here.
Oh,
That's what I have at my house.
all right,
I
so
have
if you want a
dumpster.
dumpster, let me know.
And honestly, even that right there, you could, cause I've had done that for other things, but you could call up whoever we're using and have them set a dumpster in here, one-time shop.
Sure.
But that's trash busters, they have dumpsters, yeah. They
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
Trash busters could bring a dumpster down for these guys, they could do whatever. If you fill it up, they'll come dump it and do it again, or one time, it
Well, if you
doesn't
get a
matter.
roll off too.
Yeah, I'd get a roll off, like a 4-footer or something,
Yeah.
fill it.
Right,
Yeah.
but,
I mean, we've got that old siren that come off here. Up
Yeah,
there.
that's up there.
I don't know
Yeah.
why. I think it ought to be over the historical slide in.
Yeah, anything like that, that's probably a good place for it.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a shame to, or have an auction, or whatever it may be, to raise money, but, I know it takes effort, and I know if it's only the same 3 people every single time, you're burned out. And so,
And if we're competing for volunteers, the kid that's moving up the ranks, he probably would rather be in the spanky, nice Orly.
Yeah.
yes,
So, in a way, if we're competing for those people, we wanna be shipshape.
yeah, that's exactly right. And there's no question.
And even, I know, cause it was the same deal when I was on Guilford, the Sunday morning coffee ritual, that's like a fire department guarantee thing, but what about even that? We could, if it was up to you guys, if you wanna do, you could put something on the website about that, just for the public, Sunday mornings, if you wanna come see the station, show up and have a coffee.
Right, we used to have,
But I mean, something
Open
like
house.
that, you never
We'd
know,
have
that
open
might help
house
get
and
more people to
one
show up.
time, one fella showed up.
Oh,
I mean, that,
Yeah.
But if you did it at the same time when you're already there, it's, you know what I mean, if
Yeah.
nobody showed up, you wouldn't be up. is all I was.
Joey Page shows up every Sunday.
Yeah, Joey Page goes up there.
All kinds of guys show up at Robinson's every morning.
Yeah, there you go, there you
Yeah.
go. You did just put a big sign, walk on down to the fire station.
Offer to put a
So-
little something extra in the coffee and bring it over.
Trouble is, some of them were on here and then they're all old. They got young people.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah,
I know them all. I go in there in half an hour, hour later I get out of there.
yeah,
That's all I got for that part though.
yeah, that's all, and,
Just keep us posted and we'll do the
Yeah.
same thing.
yeah.
I think we will talk to our neighbors, see what people are thinking, see what their situation is. I think this problem, is not going away,
It's everywhere.
so, I really appreciate it, you guys.
And that's like Travis being on, he just went on Dover too.
Yeah, yeah, well, he
But,
lives over on the,
yeah, he
on the
lives-
east of Dover.
But you don't, you don't, as long as it's Sapphire and they don't.
Mutual
call
aid, you both-
Mutual aid.
that's
Right.
done.
Fine,
right.
but if it's
Geez, that's a
their
problem.
fire, they need us, you don't gain anything,
No,
You're gonna
not
lose,
at all,
yeah.
because then he doesn't show up here.
right?
He gains it as a double dip, but mutual aid, you lost.
Right, you've lost, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, there's just, again, no young, healthy men and women who are in the area
Dan, you here for the next part?
to work.
Or do you have something different?
What part?
Silver's Mills?
Yeah, that's why I'm.
Oh. All right, well, thank you so
Lisa?
much. It's
Yeah.
good to.
Thank you very
Yes,
much, we'll
thank
keep you guys posted.
Yep, yep.
Do you wanna make a motion for recess?
I'll make a motion to take
Flag.
a break, recess.
Flags for the lead.
I'll second it.
Ed got a hold of you?
I got a hold of him.
But isn't that part of this?
Yep, they're not coming till 6.
You know, the second group arriving around 6.
Yeah.
so.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you
yeah.
very much.
Sorry.
So this is one continual meeting?
Correct.
Yep,
That's why I make a motion to take a recess
Oh,
or break until
second.
6.
all right, those in favor?
I thought the post said 6, and then when I looked just now, I said. I better
It's
make
unanimous,
sure.
we're gonna take a break until approximately 6 o'clock. We're going to commence our meeting, a motion to restart.
Motion to restart our 5 PM meeting?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? We're back in session and it's just 2 minutes of 6. On to our next item is the Silver's Mills Road, and we have some guests here today that are gonna kinda help us walk through some of our options, so. You guys wanna start?
So we've been talking about the Silvers Mills Road. We know that last year we did the 800-foot section, and that's gravelled right now. We need to pave that. I think there was a question if we do a 2-inch 19 mil, do we want to make that a 3-inch 19 mil, and that way that counts as our shim in addition to our binder. So that's one of the topics that we have. And then on the other end, down towards Brockway Mills in front of Dan Hall's house, we have some significant rutting where, I mean, you're talking 8 inches deep these ruts are. And Phil and I, when we went out and looked at it last week, I mean, literally the shoulder pavement comes in and then it drops right down. And it's very, I don't know if I'd even call it alligator crack. It's I think a little bit more than that. So do we want to, is it going to be better to rebuild that section like we did the section on Hartford Lane? Is it going to be better to shim it the way it is? Or do we want to remove what's there and put in new to keep the level of the land? And then that's all going to, how much this costs, of course, is going to depend on how much paving we can actually do. Because we know we didn't get the full amount at town meeting to do shim and overlay for the whole 2.2 miles.
Correct. All of that.
Alright, so I mean, you got the section by Dan's, then you got this after your house, and you go around the corner from Kazmazak's down to Alderbrook is not quite as bad as your section, but it's equally,
It's not much better.
no, it ain't much better. I mean,
Well, I think I was with a contractor much earlier this spring, and we measured from that old pavement, or the newest pavement, up by Dan's. I think we went about 1,600 feet, which puts us just to the bend in the road. So that's double the distance that we did last year. We know how much last year cost, so.
So did you get some suggestions on the best way to tackle that situation?
I think I'll let Phil take that.
I guess the long and the short of it is, with Mr. Pavement here, the long and the short of it is, you wanna fix it with some pavement, or you wanna fix it with gravel and pavement. It definitely needs to be repaired. There's a couple of options on how to do that, whether you excavate out a certain amount of it, whether you reclaim it. I almost think it's beyond reclaiming right there in some spots, or shim and surface. It's whatever you do. I guess from my perspective anyway, we want to look at where do we get the best bang for our dollar, what is the life expectancy of what we're going to do, what is the pavement thickness that we're working with now, what's already on the road. If it is reclaimable, then there is some value in reclaiming the existing pavement and what little gravel there may be underneath there. It does gain you a little better base material, but it doesn't give you a whole lot more weight-bearing capacity of the base of your road. So, the plus of shim and surface is you shim it with, I guess I like to use 12.5. I keep getting criticized by the paving guys. They like to use 9.5, which is a 3/8 stone. It does blend into the existing pavement a little easier, and the surface on top of it usually comes out a little bit better. But it depends on how thick a shim you're going to have. You're going to have some thickness in the deep ruts. You can either fill the ruts with pavement, or you can fill them with some gravel. You can't put gravel right over the existing pavement. You gotta break that up or reclaim that. But I think basically you gotta have some structural strength added to that road. The wheel rutting it's not the pavement's fault of the wheel rutting. The pavement is only as good as the base it sets on. So if the base is not holding up the loads that are coming across there, then spend a few more dollars and repair it right so that you get 10, 12, 14 years of life out of it. Or one of my principles that I've always hung on to, and I don't quite, never sacrifice quality for quantity. You only, from a decision-making standpoint, you only really get one shot at fixing this, and probably you ought to do it as close to right as you could, so that those who follow you won't come back to, why didn't they do this right the first time? So, I guess that's my kind of general overall picture of what's going on there. The road, the pavement, the existing pavement is wore out. Maybe some of you know when the last time that was put down there.
Chris,
I've been
I
there
can't remember what
10
it's
years.
I was gonna say, I've been on that road the section by my house was 10 years ago. And that was, I think that section up through Hughes 20 plus. So,
If you can section it, if you've got some areas that will take a shim and surface. Kind of a rule that we use is that if the wheel ruts are 3 inches deep and deeper, then that's a lot of shim. That kind of triggers a reclaim to get your profile back up if there's some decent gravel underneath it. If they're 3 inches and less, then that's not a bad deal to shim, as long as they're not a long length of 3-inch wheel ruts. But it's not uncommon to, if you've got some sections that will take a shim and surface that, reclaim what you need to reclaim, it makes a little patchwork work there, but you end up with a decent road, repairing the soft bad spots and taking advantage of the existing road that is in good shape. It's in good shape now, it'll be in good shape a few years from now, and so I'm not one that wants to set in from the beginning and the end and reclaim everything, good, bad, and ugly. Let's take care of the ugly and address the bad and overlay the good.
What about when you got zero gravel?
What's that?
What about when you got zero gravel?
Under the pavement, you mean?
Yeah.
Using what?
What about when
Zero.
there's
Speak
no
up,
gravel
speak up.
underneath that road?
There's no gravel underneath that road?
Nope.
Then there's nothing to hold your pavement up.
Right.
Yeah, it's sand. It's pretty much.
That's why we are where we are. I mean, the way that every culvert we've ever done, I mean, I've dug near my house and helped do other work on that road. That is the old stagecoach road. The center of that road is all rocks that everybody threw in it to hold the center.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right in front of Dan's house, you literally can see that. The rocks are up the middle that's holding it, and there's nothing on the sides of it, and that's the effect.
And that's not uncommon for small municipalities. That back when pavement could be bought for $25 a ton, I think that was a couple of years ago probably, but it wasn't
Good old
uncommon
days.
for small towns to pave some of their gravel roads.
Sure.
And now we're paying for that missed decision because the base of that road was never constructed. It just evolved over time. We added a little gravel here and a little gravel there and some rocks here and some rocks there, got through the mud season. And then the first thing that happened with the tarring crews came in and dealt with the dust issues. And so you're not alone in having a paved road that was never, should have been paved. But now that you have, whatever you do on top of that, you've got to break up the pavement. You just can't spread gravel right over that pavement and pave on top. You create a sandwich. When you create a sandwich, then you get water in between and you get all kinds of problems. So,
When you say reclaim, can I also assume that's synonymous with just breaking it up?
it's significantly different than just.
I know the process is, but in terms of, if it requires reclaiming, is breaking it up an option? Or do we have to, to do it right, does it have to be reclaimed?
The difference of breaking it up and reclaiming it is breaking it up, you don't have the opportunity to blend the purest of aggregate that's in the pavement with the not so good gravel or no gravel underneath it. The reclaiming is like rototilling.
Right.
And when you do that, you create a kind of a blended material, reasonably good, better than what you got now. But if there's no gravel underneath there, I would reclaim whatever I was going to do. It's going to cost you X number of dollars a square yard to break it up and haul it off, or to break it up and go over it. Even breaking up and going over it is not recommended. You don't want to create any kind of an environment where you trap water. So how small am I going to break it up? Am I going to break it up in 3-inch squares or 2-foot squares or what? And
Well, this brings us back to our project on the other end of the road, because we know that pavement was not broken up. And I know we're revisiting it's the same old problem, and we went back and forth on whether it had to be done. But now it sounds like, at least from Phil's point of view, you really shouldn't be paving, you shouldn't have pavement that wasn't broken up, even though it was in poor condition.
right.
With gravel.
Gravel,
Oh, that was broken up, I drove over it.
not all of it.
We're
I drove
talking,
that whole stretch of road, the day they broke it up, and I was like, I'm surprised they didn't stop me, I got halfway over it, and I was like, I shouldn't be driving on this.
I was there the day he broke up the ends, but the middle portion was never broken up. And the contractor that did the project told us that.
Huh. Well, it must be
And we, you know, we went back and forth on that project and what we were gonna do, but
As
now.
cracked as that was and as broke as it was before an excavator went on it. there
His
was
is
no
worse.
water. I understand that, but I'm saying, there ain't no water trapped in that road.
I would think not, but
If there was, your gravel that was on the top would have been soft this spring, that dried up faster than anything.
well, I don't.
I mean, and it didn't pothole out, it stayed pretty smooth.
If
The
that,
transition on the end was bad, but that's cause everybody was hitting it like at the edge, but.
if that process was acceptable there, it begs the question on the areas that we're talking about today.
Sure.
That's all, and it sounds like that's not what we're being advised right now, to not do that. So now I'm wondering, is it foolhardy to throw pavement on that? That's all.
No.
Oh, on the 800 foot?
Yeah, because what we did there, we're being told we can't do, or shouldn't do,
Right, by Dan.
by dance and
So
Casmarax and all
what did they
that.
technically put in? So,
They broke it up.
We were supposed to break it up. We didn't break all of it up. The gravel was,
just on the sides, not in the middle?
well, we did the tails, both tails. We came back in and broke those up. But as you get deeper into that, now, Dale's right. Pavement was shattered to pieces, but very much like what's in front of your place. But you still had plates of pavement. You'll have pieces as big as this table that are intact.
How deep is gravel on top of
I'm
it?
trying to think.
In place, well, the goal
Depends
was
where
a
you
foot,
go.
but it's probably around 8 or 9 inches in the deepest part. We raised that road. We not, right now, we're not considering raising any other portions of road that so that project was, it was conducive to bringing in the gravel, and if we had adequately broken it up, and it may work either way, I don't know.
So they only broke up the beginning and the end, okay. So
After.
that made- Yeah.
Yeah.
After what?
After we found out that they hadn't broken it, I went over there, basically
Okay.
kicked the
Exactly.
tails in and said,
I remember, but it must have been just the end.
oh, it was, and you're right, it was like,
Okay.
how would they expect anyone to drive over this?
Yeah, I'm like,
Football-sized pieces of pavement just
I shouldn't
sticking
be
up.
driving on it.
That's when we had to have another contractor come in actually and clean some of it up.
So he cleaned up the two tail ends, feathered those in with some gravel and compaction, and it's held up fine. And we just graded it, it actually looks pretty good. But if that process is not an acceptable process to be paving on,
Right.
So you need to tear it all up, get it out of there.
or break it all up sufficient, small enough pieces so you have this drainage, and then the gravel would be blended, and that was, I guess, if I'm explaining the concept correctly. And that contractor that kind of mended that for us, I guess he's done some pretty big roads up in Abbott that way, busting them all up and then compacting them and creating a crown, and they paved them. I'm not saying that we should do that, but it's,
How deep a shim can you go?
I can go as deep as you want.
I mean,
I would-
I know my end of Silver's Mills is 7 or 8 inches. when they did
well, I
that.
thought 3 was,
I mean,
3 inches on a rut is kind of,
I was kind of being sarcastic in a way, but you really, as much as I'm in the pavement business, I do not recommend shimming that road. Because as Phil was saying, what will happen is, if I shim that road where those ruts are so deep, number one, I won't be able to compact it properly, because the rollers are just gonna bridge it. And if there's no base under that pavement, you're gonna, year 2, 3, you're just gonna end up with the same problem you have now, only you're gonna have more pavement on the side of the road than you have now. It's cheaper to shim gravel than it is pavement. And, I agree with everything that Phil said, it's
So
just not the way to do it.
if we're gonna shim with gravel, though, we need to adequately break up the pavement underneath those areas.
The difference of breaking it up and reclaiming. When you reclaim, you end up with 2-inch minus material. That should, and your spec should say reclaim producing a 2-inch minus. In other words, there's no chunks of pavement bigger than 2 inches. And then when you regrade that shimmed material, then you have a chance to put it all back in the same thing. So you have uniform material, whatever it ends up being, you have uniform material from the top to wherever it's laying on the face of the earth. Breaking it up, you don't have uniform material.
Right.
Even if you break it up and you've got pieces that are 2 or 3 feet in size, or even down to a foot, you don't have an opportunity to bring that up and to blend that and create what we call a homogenized base material. And there is significant value in that you're not gonna get by breaking it up.
Right.
Gravel is gravel, but gravel, even poor gravel, when I add whatever stone there is in that pavement into that, I reduce the percentage of fines in that gravel. And fines is what draws your water and creates the soft base. And water's the road's worst enemy. So get rid of it.
So we can remove the pavement that's there though, and grade it and gravel over that.
You can, but you're throwing away some expensive aggregate. What's it gonna cost you to, what, $2.50 a square yard, $3 a square yard to reclaim?
reclaim?
Yeah, you're talking $1.50, $1.75 to come in and reclaim that road.
Is that cheap?
A foot or yard or
Square yard.
a square yard, okay.
So I mean,
Yeah,
if you do a mile of road, that's what, 11,000 squares, something like that?
yeah.
So you're
So
talking,
for $15,000, you've got a nice homogenized mix to work.
So if we figured 15,000 a mile, is that a,
to reclaim.
That's just
for
for
reclaiming,
reclaiming.
that's still rototilling?
That's
Right,
to
but
reclaim it,
we-
and fine grade it, and
But we've gotta put the gravel with it, because we know underneath
There's no,
rock.
there's no, right.
Work with your contractor, the paving contractor, and some of them will, if you tailgate out 2 or 3 or 4 inches of 2-inch minus or 1.5 inch minus gravel, good gravel, on top of that pavement, they will in fact blend that in. There's 2 processes.
As they reclaim.
Yeah, you're right. There's 2 processes. The one that I like better is let them reclaim. Add my 4, 5, 6 inches of gravel, let them reclaim that again. And then they blend that virgin gravel into the homogenized mix. Now I've got a better mix of material from the base of my road.
And you can shape it and,
Yeah, they
Yeah,
grade it,
yeah,
they bring it back, they proper profile, they recompact that. When they're done with that, then you put the pavement to it.
so that's 2 reclaimings.
Well, it's a reclaiming and then it's a rototilling in the next batch.
Yeah, but
It's the
just,
same
would
fee.
it, would I double the price? Yes, okay. I'm just trying to get a feel
Yeah.
for what it's gonna
It's gonna
cost
cost that
per
equivalent same amount,
mile
both
to do
times.
it correctly.
but we do that a lot, as Phil was saying, towns will come in and put decent gravel, 3 or 4 inches thick, on roads like the Silver's Mills Road, we'll come in and reclaim it,
Just in one pass.
typically in one pass.
Okay.
I mean, because ideally, if you can do it twice, great,
Yeah.
you're getting a
Sure.
better product, but, money's.
So how deep are you talking when you reclaim?
Depending on the thickness of the pavement, we typically go down 12 inches or so. Right down and through the pavement, 6, 7 inches down into the
No,
existing.
you only got
gravel.
what, 3 inches of pavement there?
Yeah, and I've got,
That's through both layers.
I'm wondering if you're gonna hit the rock wall in the middle
I
at
think-
12 inches.
You're gonna hit
Yeah,
the rocks in
you
the
don't
middle?
have 12
Don't
inches.
say that.
I'm honest, I mean,
Honest.
this is why we're having this
I've got pictures.
conversation. You're
So
not
if
gonna
that's the
go,
case, we'd go, if you got 3 inches of pavement, we'd get down 6, 8 inches, whatever.
I think that's probably the most.
I think
you're
at
gonna
6 inches, you're gonna be cutting it close,
get.
but
Unless we bring in a lot more gravel.
but on the other side of it, at 6 inches, you're not gonna reclaim the ruts, they're still there.
Typically what we do
Right.
is we'll start.
All that
and
pavement's
if
still
he
in
hits
there.
something, he'll know when he hits something, he'll start bringing it up until, it'll jolt.
Sure.
Jolt the machine. But then in our reclaiming process, we come in, we reclaim it. That one, it probably is not a bad idea, like Phil was saying, to come in and do it again for a couple reasons. One is, that one's not gonna reclaim very well, it's not gonna break down the material, the existing pavement, into smaller chunks, because it's so busted up now. That reclaimer has teeth on it, it needs something to bite into,
Right.
and it's just like taking a shovel and
So
pulling a piece out.
oh, it's just
gonna
gonna-
chunk up.
To like kick a rock out
Yeah.
behind it, yeah.
But typically when it's like that, you can slow the reclaimer down as well and do it that way. And then we roll it right behind it, roll it and water it, and then rough grade it, and then fine grade it to 2% or whatever you want for a grade.
Cause honestly, that's my fear, is right by Dan's house, if you set anything with a reclaimer at 6 inches,
You're
not
still
gonna-
not at the bottom of the
You're not
road.
gonna touch that pavement. in the ruts.
Right, the bottom of the rut.
I mean, you'd have to set that reclaimer down, I mean, it's 3 inches thick, those are down there 8, you gotta be 12 inches, or you're not gonna touch it.
Yeah.
So how does that work? I mean,
I can only go down as far as I can go if there's stone and rocks there.
I understand.
And, you know,
but to me, that's no different than you were leaving hot top.
They can't chew up those big stones. Are you giving any thought to taking those stones out of there?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say that. You start that and you,
We would triple our budget.
200,000 lot, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so there's two ways of dealing with a stone. It's like dealing with ledge. You either take some of it out
Yeah.
or you come up over it. And even when you come up over it, unless you come up a long ways, like 2 or 3 feet, the frost action is what keeps bringing those stones up into the bed of your road. So look forward another 15 years and you're gonna have some rocks show up.
No, some of them will break right through. I got one on the French's Mills Road right now, it's crowning, and it's just a big boulder, and it's coming up.
Come up every year.
Nothing you can do about it.
So here's
Yeah, I
a
mean, that's.
question
was-
relative to budget. If we reclaim it, can we leave it for a year before we shim it or bind it? We can leave it as a gravel section without losing anything.
If reclaim, you just got overlay, there's no shim, right?
reclaim, you put a base pavement down and then a surface pavement.
so you don't shim, you don't
What's the
shim.
length of road we're talking about
That's really bad,
doing?
right? Or the whole,
Well, we got 2 miles of paving over there that needs to be done, and about 1.25 miles is of this condition that we're talking about.
The only reason I was asking, because I just didn't wanna mislead you at the $1.50, $1.75 square yard, you know, if we come in and do a mile, that's what, but if we come in and do 200 feet, it's not gonna be.
Oh, yeah,
No, what it would
Right,
be
no,
is,
but
I mean,
that's,
you got
we
that
need to
big
know that
section,
too.
big
Yeah.
section by Dan, and then, I don't know, what is it? You could skip, if you was gonna do this, you could skip reclaiming up around the corner from your house, where it's semi-flat, get up past Casmazak's, and then start
Yeah, whole
reclaiming
streets to
again down
Rich.
Alder Brook. I wouldn't
how far
reclaim.
past my house towards your house are you going?
No, the other way. Well, right from the bottom of the old
Okay.
pavement where it
Right.
starts really going to Ack. If we started there, go up past your house,
Towards Dexter.
toward, and around the corner where it smooths out, stop,
Yeah, that's.
get past Casmazak, start again.
They can move on the same road and not too big, but if they've gotta pick that thing
Oh,
up
yeah.
and move it across.
Yeah, no, I
No,
mean,
we're
it's,
talking the
it's
same
within,
road.
it's half mile,
Okay.
1/3 of a mile. I mean, it's not that much of a distance.
We do that a lot, I mean, we'll reclaim a section of road for municipalities and go down 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet, whatever, and start another piece.
Did you do the reclaiming on McFeeters, on the Parkman side?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't-
yeah, so whoever did that did a nice job. What came
That
out
we
of
did.
that? Pardon me, yeah.
No, I
Oh, I
don't know.
forgot.
I don't recall, what time was that?
Definitely.
It's right here, it's right on McFeeters
Parkman.
and Parkman.
Route 150.
I mean, I know on French's Mills, we reclaimed and left big chunks behind.
It was a mess.
Big chunks.
So that doesn't sound like the reclaiming, like whoever reclaimed it didn't,
It was, when they did French's Mills, it was almost like they set the reclaimer out too much and it left a strip right up the middle.
does it do do you have to go, how wide a swath does it cut?
It was, well,
Things,
8
things
feet?
happen underneath that thing that you don't wanna know.
It all depends, I get, you know, some people will drop it and
Yeah.
scream down the road,
Jeez.
and, you know, you gotta overlap.
Right,
Right.
You can't-
Right.
That's what happens when you leave strips, you're trying to shorten the amount of time to there.
huh. So,
And that's
So
where
at
we get
town
the chunks.
meeting, everybody voted, sorry, I missed it. Everybody voted on a budget for this project? Or
Just voted on the public works budget in total, and
Paving
this
budget.
line, road improvement, was within that budget.
But we did not put in enough money to completely rebuild that 2.2 miles.
Right.
No, we-
So
And
given-
pave it because we knew it never passed. I mean, we held the budget for what it's usually that.
So given the new information, I mean, can you have a special town meeting to,
that's kind of where we're at, we're trying to get our ducks in a row to see if we, indeed, we want to go back to the town and ask for money to,
or do you just start on my end, and do what you can this year, and worry about the rest of it next year?
well, that's kind of where we're at, we're trying to
And
figure
you
out.
can leave that reclaim I mean, it's actually, you know, if you can let it sit for a year, let the rain and traffic.
Just pack it,
Pack it
pack,
down.
pack, pack.
Well, that's the one thing
Yeah.
that project taught me, was that a properly compacted gravel road, I mean, Chris just graded that, it came out beautiful.
It's pretty nice down there.
It's way better than what it was with
Right.
pavement.
Right.
The
Yeah.
fear that we've had in the past was, and this is why they stopped doing that, and that's why we have dirt sections of other road, is as the boards evolved, you know, one board might focus on, we're gonna get this project and see it through, so we're gonna make this part dirt so it can compact. The board changes, yeah, no, we're not gonna worry about that anymore, we're gonna go
Yeah,
over here.
so
So-
lack of continuity is just really disruptive. As far as line of thought or projects.
But our original thought was to pick up where we left off on the eastern end of French's Mills Road, Harpeth Lane, and go up to French's Mills Road, and now everything was paved, then onto French's Mills is done, and keep going. If, I don't think this board's afraid to go back to the town and ask for money to finish that road, as long as we've got a plan and numbers that work.
Yeah, I think that would be the best thing, but if, you know, if you can't get it passed, can you do that and then go back down to the other end?
Well, I
And
wanna
kind
do
of
it
leave
the
the
other way.
middle?
Myself personally, my view is I wanna run out of money.
I say, we're gonna,
Oh, yeah.
I don't wanna not do anything and then.
Right.
We need more money, cause that's not gonna, I wanna do what we can do that works for the town, works for the pavers, cause obviously I don't want them to have to maneuver multiple equipment back and forth as well, cause that's a huge cost, but I wanna get it to a point of where we're out, do what we can do with what we got, and then figure out what we do after that. But,
I have a question, and I know you're speaking for Pike, but if we did say, it's just 800 feet, is that project from Hartford to French's Mills?
Yes,
So if we did 800 feet and then brought you back in August to do another mile or mile and a quarter, would we miss out on cost savings versus doing those two together? Or are we hitting a critical mass with both of those?
You'd miss out a little bit, just for the fact that I have to mow in twice.
Right.
You know, the 800-foot section wouldn't take me very long to do, and then I'd have to go
Right.
somewhere else where the mile section, it would take me a day. You basically just, it's costing you more for another mobilization. Whereas if I can move in once and
Do it all.
send it down the road,
Yeah,
it
that,
saves me time, which turns around and saves you money.
what about moving the reclaimer and the paving thing all at the same time? Are they individual things
Yeah,
that we don't have to worry
No,
about?
that you don't have to
So we
worry
can do this much paving, and then we can
Yeah.
have you, maybe if we go back to town meeting, get this to do the reclaiming, that's
Yeah.
a separate.
or I'm looking at it the other way, we could get them to come in and do the reclaiming, and we could get the gravel down,
That's what I was
and then we could
doing.
do some other roads, run out of money or get close, I mean, don't run out to the point of, we can't pave at least that 800 feet, cause we've kinda all promised that that's getting paved this year.
Yeah.
So we have to know that that's being done.
Yeah.
But we could get everything else done and then go back to town meeting and say, hey, look, we have the money to pave our 800 feet, this is everything else we've done, we would like to have more money to pave the rest of it, or more of it.
I'm wondering about reclaiming all of it. I mean, we've got this problem. It's there,
Well, yeah, was it 15,000 mile?
yeah. We reclaim, and we add gravel where we should add gravel, and, because you were gonna have a reclaim over there anyway, we're talking about 800 feet. We know we've got gravel that's sitting on pavement that wasn't properly broken up, or we suspect that that's the case.
Oh, I don't wanna reclaim that.
And there's fabric in there,
Yeah.
Oh, there is?
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Not only that, you're all compacted, if you do that.
Oh, no, it's rock solid right now.
That's what I mean, if you do anything over there, we're back to another year.
Well, what about reclaiming from where it ends?
I wouldn't.
Were we gonna shim and pave that?
Yeah, cause that's
What's
where it
the
ends,
bottom for?
that's horrible
If you guys
too,
got
right
a
in front of the
number,
news,
get the
that's,
budget number.
It's bad, I agree.
Do you remember what it is?
For what?
What your price per ton was? I don't remember.
For the 12.5? I think it's 65.
Oh, I had it here and I took it out of my folder.
No.
75 was budget number.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't take long I don't think we can do it here tonight. It wouldn't take very long to come over and get some numbers. What I'd have to have, I got the pavement numbers and the reclaim number. What I'd have to have is, and I could figure out the cubic yards of gravel that you need to do, what we need to do to get up there, get 8 or 10 inches of gravel over those rocks. We could figure out the cubic yards there. If I knew what the price was in place, we could get you a number per lineal foot to do what you wanna do.
Yeah.
You mean add
yeah.
8 inches on top of that?
What's that?
You mean add 8 inches on top of that road surface?
No, I'm just thinking about getting you a number, so that you've got a number per lineal foot or per
yep.
whatever. So if you're gonna add, let's say, an average of 8 inches of gravel, gonna reclaim, you want more gravel?
We can't, if we go up 8 inches, we're gonna fill all of our ditches. Cause you
Yeah.
can't go up without going out.
You can, if you go up a foot, you go out 2.
There you go,
You just filled every ditch we just did.
pretty much. If you haven't got much shoulder left.
You don't have a whole lot of options over the rocks. I mean, you gotta come up, or just pave over them and just walk away, and I don't recommend that. If you-
That's what we did on all the rest of the road, and it's all been paved over 10, 11 years. I mean, you've lived, I've been on it, you've been on it.
When they did yours, was it as bad as that?
It was, I mean, not the 8 or 10, 8 inches like he's got, but it was, yeah. I mean, the whole road's built the same.
Yeah, we could take some measurements. If we knew what it was from top of shoulder to top of shoulder, you're gonna have 20 feet of pavement, 2 10-foot lanes. So if you've got 26 feet of top of shoulder, we could add a foot and you'd hardly even notice it. We're not gonna fill your ditches, okay? But whatever we do, you gotta have a number.
Right, we need a
Yeah, no,
cost
we can pull
analysis.
something out, but at least we'd have a
And in
number.
That
order
would-
to get a number, you gotta have an idea on what we're gonna do.
What we're gonna do, right.
That's what I'm
exactly.
trying to figure out, that's
Right.
why, when you're
Yeah.
throwing out a number of adding 8 inches of gravel, knowing that road, we can add 8 inches of gravel,
Well,
so
we
it
don't-
doesn't do any good to figure that number if it's not.
Well, I need to measure it. you know.
Right,
I hear
you're-
what you're saying, but.
Yeah, I think that,
No, you may look at it and agree that we can't add 8 inches of gravel.
Well,
Because there's not much shoulder there right
There is
now.
no shoulder.
Not in front of my house.
Nope. And
So
there isn't
then
much
you-
as you
then
come
back
up
to
from
what-
Casmatrax either.
Correct, the
Go
whole
back to the
thing,
decision of what am I gonna do here?
that's correct.
You also
If
wanna
you-
keep in mind, when you reclaim, it's gonna fluff that up 3 or 4 inches.
Right.
No matter how much I
Correct.
compact it, it's gonna,
yeah,
Yeah.
you have more volume.
You're gonna gain 3 anyway.
The other thing we don't really know, I know these rocks migrate, like I said, I've got some right on my road that weren't there 2 years ago and now they're crowning. But we don't really know how deep, you might be able to go over that. Those rocks are leaving a telltale hump, but there could be a foot of material over them, we don't really know that.
I do have pictures, when we replaced those culverts of
Put a lot of
the,
culverts up.
That's true.
of the base of the road, 4 feet. I took pictures just so that we could see what was there.
All of them, or just one or a couple?
Couple 3, not
No,
all
they're
of
all
them,
about the
no,
same. They're
but they're all about the same, yeah.
I mean, on my end, we dug out the whole end of the Anderson Road, and I dug with a backhoe right off the edge of that hot top, we dug down 4 feet. That whole intersection, and there ain't a speck of gravel anywhere.
It was all rock.
Underneath that. It was all sand, it was all on that edge, there's nothing there. I mean, and I know when I was, the day that incident happened in front of your house, when I was talking to your wife, she was made mention that how you and your son or whatever, you heard a big bang in the middle of the night, wondering what was going on. And now I've noticed that where that big hole was there, and we filled it, now that's popped back up. So I would almost, not knowing, but I would assume that noise you heard was probably those big rocks underneath there, kinda.
No, that's what I wondered.
I was amazed that that popped back up.
Yeah, I didn't think.
I
was
thought
coming
that
back.
material had gotten pushed out into the ditching or something, and yet, when that frost came out of the ground, it came right back up again.
But it came back up as fast as it went away.
Yep.
Because I went down through there one day and that was fine, and I come back through hurrying and hit that.
We're talking a trench you could lay a man down in, that's how deep that was.
Frost does wonders. I mean,
Yeah.
So I wondered, you pave all, is that gonna do that again next year? Maybe it will, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm sure.
Well, I
I
know
mean,
all the water that runs down my driveway was going in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if the end of my driveway needs to be built up or what, but I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I did, but.
So we've got a source of water feeding
Yeah.
the problem.
Once
Then
the,
you got all the water coming down the road. I mean, the whole thing was a
Yeah.
trench. It was all.
You can see where it comes down my driveway, under the road,
Oh, boy.
back down to the end of that, where the sunk, then it goes down into the ditch.
and the road is so corrupted, all that moisture that would normally run down your pavement and off your
Sure,
shoulders, it's just
sure.
running in under the road, so.
So,
It's,
yeah.
I'm changing subject just a little bit, but, you and I went out one day, Phil, and we were talking about, ratios of paving, and, this always stuck with me, how much payback you get for an additional half inch. It's, could you kind of give us, if I spend an extra, 30%, do I get twice as much road? That's, those kind of breakpoints, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
Just for a rough example, and don't hold me to this. Okay, if I ever see this out somewhere else, I'll deny ever being there.
Well, you're on tape,
Just-
so.
just-
Yeah, we got you.
We're all set.
For example,
We do that for a reason.
an inch of pavement, sitting on a good base, an inch of pavement, hot mix pavement, let's say it'll hold 1,000 pounds. An inch and a half of hot mix pavement will hold 2,000 pounds. And as you go up in thickness on your pavement, you dramatically increase the weight-bearing capacity of the pavement, simply because you're stacking stones on top of stones. Okay. And you start out with 19 millimeter, or even, 19 millimeter is probably the good average. 3/4 stone, you stay with that for 2 or 3 inches, you've got some significantly weight-bearing capacity, and it's the weight on top of the road and a soft, unstable base under the pavement is where your wheel ruts come from. It just keeps pushing it down, pushing it down. And, I don't know whether you control the weight of those, on those roads during the spring or not, but, boy, you should, you got to, because it's saving the road. But I can't give you an exact number because that formula is more than my mind can, maybe the paving guys get a little more than that, but it's,
Sounds about right, I don't know.
you just gain an awful lot of weight-bearing capacity out of your pavement, and that's,
Because in theory, to me, it seems like there's a place where spending an extra, buying an extra half inch buys you a lot more road and a lot more time before you have to pave it again.
it'll buy you, your life expectancy, the life cycle of that pavement extends dramatically.
Right, it's almost like an exponential kind of payback.
Well, drive up this road, that's all you gotta do. I mean, they painted that, spray painted, that's all that was. It was a half inch maybe.
Was that the DOT?
Yeah, and if you go up through there now,
It's-
it looks like that was
Yeah.
paved 20 years ago. I mean, every crack that was in that road is there today.
It's
Well,
translated.
that's their, what do they call it, light capital
Paving.
pavement project, which, it basically is 5/8 of an inch.
Yeah.
And
That's
some
it.
places it's not 5/8, in other places it's an inch and a half.
Right.
But all it does is cover it over, and they look to get 6 to 7 years out of that in a cycle. If they came back in that 6 or 7 years, that would be pretty good, but in reality, the miles of road that they've got to do, they're usually pushing that up there to 8 to 10 before they come back.
Wow.
It looks
This road,
good.
this road looks like they ought to redone it after 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever cracks they covered reflect right
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
And you can see that on Silver's Mills. If you go to the other end, when we paved that past Hartford Lane, I believe we did inch and a half.
We actually coordinated with Dexter, they did,
But Dexter did
they
two.
did more paving, we did more
And
pavement.
even, it's only been 2 years, and if you drive that road, you can already see the difference between the pavement we put down compared to the pavement they did. Same contractor, same everything, it was a straight shot down the
Just
back.
different, a
was a
different,
different-
different depth.
And just to go back to reclaiming does buy you a little more length of time before your reflective cracking comes back to the surface. Where shim and surface, shim and overlay, your cracks are gonna be right back up there in a short period of time. The reclaim more often than not buys you a longer period of time before the cracks come back. The cracks aren't the problem in the pavement, the cracks is what's happening under the pavement. Is the freeze and thaw cycles that you go through.
I know the general thought, consensus, however you wanna verbiage it around our town, from looking at how things have been done in the past. Whenever they've reclaimed, knowing there's no gravel at all on our roads, and they've always reclaimed at the 12 inch.
Yeah,
So before we had at least something for a road base, but they've reclaimed it so deep that now all we have is nothing.
you,
You know, whereas if you could have reclaimed it say a 4 to a 6 inch, and you might have, you know, been able to, then I could understand where it would be a benefit, but.
Right, that's why earlier, if I didn't, I should have mentioned that it depends on the thickness of your pavement, how far you go down.
We were, what was it, about 3 inches in? There was 2
Yeah, I
applications.
mean, we bought them both out from your house, you can reach out, grab one, roll it up, grab that.
Say, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I mean, it was like
And then you were down to,
sand, literally sand. At least in that hole that
Yeah, right,
Chris was just pouring out, it was like beach sand.
yeah.
so
If you
could
make-
you,
if you make your decision to reclaim, then I would highly recommend that you get a backhoe, or hire a backhoe, do something. Go out there and dig some holes in the middle of the road and see what you got. And so you can
We already
tell.
have. We know.
Pictures.
Yeah, we
have.
put culverts in the whole way.
Yeah.
That may be where the culvert is, but it may not be where everywhere you go.
Was true.
Yeah, check a couple more.
And why I say that is the reclaimer needs to know, how deep do you want me to go? Because if you've got, let's say you've got 4 inches of gravel underneath here or something, then you don't wanna get below that because you get the junk in the mud. and
That's,
Oh, yeah.
that's what we've always done in the past.
Then you
Yeah.
contaminated your whole base
oh, you
product
do
that
not
you're
want
looking for.
that.
But that's what I'm saying, that's why, if we come out of this meeting and the road committee hits us up, or if anybody asks me, well, what'd you come up with? And I mention reclaiming, I'm gonna hear, but that's why, whenever we reclaim, reclaimer comes in, you reclaim 12 inches.
And they take,
Right, you
And
don't,
you just mix
Dirt.
everything right into
that's
a,
no good.
Especially if you're saying you have sand under there,
Oof.
you don't wanna be,
you don't go down into the, don't go down into the bushes.
Yeah,
you can tell as soon as you go over with the reclaimer how, you know, whether you need to bring it up. You know, you can tell by the material that's behind the reclaimer.
Yeah,
My suspicion is, unless we add gravel, reclaiming isn't gonna work very well for us, so that's just a gut, that's just my suspicion. But
now,
we'll see.
if you reclaimed, if there's sand under there, that's not good, is it? I mean,
That's a bad thing.
yeah. I mean, it almost needs to be peeled, you've got to get down to the earth, right? I mean, right?
Sand is not all bad. You go from sand to clay, you're in bad shape. You've already, what I saw, you did some significant ditching out there,
Yep.
which was a good move. The ditching itself will lower the water table that's in the base of your road from where it was. So once you move water out of whatever there is there for a base, you have made a significant improvement.
Good, good,
So,
good, so that's a good,
yeah.
One
so
step
even
at a
if
time.
you get junk down in there, when you get water out of it,
okay,
when you take water out of clay, you're on pretty solid.
Sure.
You can make bricks of it, so.
sure, that's right.
Water is what you need to be sure you get rid of, and when you get rid of the water, then we can deal with whatever we have there. But I'd recommend highly, if I'm gonna do it, go dig a hole here and
Test
there,
holes
every
and
200 or
figure out
300
what we're
feet.
dealing with.
Then mark it and say, so that when the reclaimer shows up, you know, you got 2 inches of
Exactly
gravel,
what
you
we
got
need.
0 gravel, you got 7 inches of gravel, and he can adjust as he goes to meet that. If they don't know, they're going, and you say, I want this thing reclaimed 12 inches, they're gonna be 12 inches, and they're gonna pick up and go, and you got what you're hearing from the citizens out, I got.
well, we've got it, you go up through there, there's enough culverts, we've got enough holes.
Yeah.
We've done the ditching, there is no gravel in that road. We can dig as many holes as you want, but when you're all said and done, I will guarantee you, there's no gravel in that road.
Yeah, cause you got a culvert every,
That's what there isn't.
Yeah.
like
Now-
you said, every 200, 300, 400 feet.
Where
On
did the
that whole stretch.
sand come from? I know
Chris
this
actually
history.
remembered the process, they literally brought loads of sand in, put it on top of that rock center, and then graded it, winged it to the sides.
Sand?
Yep,
That's
and then they
crazy.
did their first paving.
that's
And he told us the story, and then he starts pulling out the pavement, and sure
Yeah, he's
enough,
like, "Look, see
digging
this
out a
right here?"
handful of sand.
There's only an inch of hot top, reach down, there it is, right there, you weren't lying, it's all right in front of you. But they're just,
sand.
So should you reclaim just the pavement as you go?
But you have to
Add
mix it
gravel
with
to it.
gravel, yeah.
but that's the problem, you can't, because if you reclaim the pavement, you gotta be down there 12 inches.
You don't have to.
So if you add
Yeah,
enough gravel,
right.
you can, if you add 8 inches of gravel, but now your road's 8 inches higher, and then we get into the width
Can
issue.
you get out through the tailgate gravel with a grader and you cut the gravel into that 8-inch rut and then reclaim?
Say that again?
If you tailgated gravel, then you run down through it with a grader and smoothed it off, then reclaimed it. That way there, you would have 8 inches of gravel in all those ruts, but you wouldn't have the 8 inches on the top, because you can't hit 8 inches,
But
because
you
you're
gotta
gonna
make sure you reclaim the pavement underneath it.
You're gonna come,
You're not
he's
gonna
saying
put
you're
a
coming
foot.
back through afterwards, and
I'm not sure that it can reclaim 8 inches and get to the pavement. I mean, 2 or 3, 4 inches, I've seen them do 4 inches.
Yeah, 8 inches is too much.
Too much.
That's too much.
Well, what I'm saying is, so right now, you know, there's only how many inches of pavement on that road?
there's 3.
3 inches of
Three
pavement. So
inches.
can you reclaim just the 3 inches of pavement?
But the pavement is not flat, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, true,
I
right.
mean, you gotta figure that as a
it's
plan.
been a bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
If he
It's gonna
sets 3
break,
inches
yeah.
here and 3 inches here,
So you
you
have
got
to go-
pavement not 8 inches below it everywhere else.
Right, if you've
That's
got
the
ruts that are
problem.
8 inches, you have to go a minimum of 8 inches, I see.
So you gotta go 8 inches to hit the rut, and then you gotta
Well,
go
can
3
you
inches
do-
below that to get it. I
Have
mean,
to at least get down into some of the material.
Right.
that's what I mean, you're back to reclaiming a foot.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're back to picking it up and hauling it off. Get rid of it.
The pavement of the road,
Yeah, but then we are faced with the reality that we don't have a roadbed.
Well, then we're
Right.
back to the fact that we don't have the money to start this conversation.
You're up to $2,000. What is it? Yeah, 200,000 a mile.
I can't remember.
For a road bed?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna set in with an excavator, the way this is going now, you're gonna dig 16 inches out and replace it with 2 feet.
Yep,
I mean,
not really a viable option.
When you make a road bed, what do you use to make a road bed? What's the first thing you put on the earth that's undisturbed when you make a road? What's the first
I'm
thing?
gonna do it.
Yeah,
First thing's going down is fabric.
fabric, okay.
Then I'm gonna put,
On undisturbed,
18 inches of 3-inch minus processed gravel.
right?
Then I'm gonna put another 8 to 10 inches of 1.5 inch minus. And if I got a good grader operator, I can smooth that up and he can pave it. If he can't pave it, then I'll put a couple inches of 3/4 surface, give him something to pave on, and put pavement to it. So you end up with 2.5 feet of base
Right.
setting
Right.
on something, and I want fabric to
Right.
protect that
Sure,
from whatever's underneath.
Right, to keep it forever.
and that still don't protect you from the rock that's 3 feet underneath that's gonna come up through it all anyway.
There's a lot of removal
The
that
depth,
That's
I
what
want
I'm
my
saying,
ditch
it's
is
not
3
viable.
feet deeper than my bed of my road. I just,
then the bed of the road?
no, 3 feet deeper than where my fabric is.
Oh, wow.
That is the best.
Wow,
That is the bed
that
of
is,
the road.
So you-
That's, get an idea how much material's gonna come out.
so, 3 feet deeper.
You're almost getting to the viable option of sitting there with an excavator and break it up and level it out. I mean, cause, he can't reclaim, he's not gonna be able to reclaim down through them ruts.
No.
So if you can't reclaim through the ruts, that tells me you're gonna leave chunks of hot top, 2 strips up the entire length of that road if you reclaim it.
In places, you're absolutely right.
You know, your
So
only
that's
other
not an
option
option.
is, I can come in, or whoever, can
Mhm.
come in and shim with a 12.5, the mix that's in between a base mix and ideally I'd like to do it with the 19, but the problem with that is the stone's so big where it's not going in the wheel ruts, it just kinda raises heck with my equipment for one thing, but you could shim that with a sturdier mix.
The kicker on shim is, and he's ready, you can't get the compaction of that pavement knit together down in those valleys.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
There's no way you can
I understand
practice.
that,
So when you don't get the air voids out, the air voids fill with water,
correct.
and come Wintertime, your water freezes and
No, it's all suboptimal. But
And then you
it's
have
what we
rubber
got.
tire rollers.
Sure,
which-
I was just gonna
but
ask
then
about that, but
the
that's.
problem with that is, you know, where you're laying, again, I don't know what the
Right.
wheel ruts
Oh,
are.
I think
but,
8 inches is a good
Yeah.
number.
You know, and
At the
then you're,
moment.
if
You
you're
took it
laying
to before,
8
let's
inches
cross
of
it.
one
Yeah,
lift,
you're right.
that's, the rubber tire's gonna end up, again, squatting that out.
Stuck.
Yep,
And then it's not, you know, where I'm dragging on the high spots.
mm-hmm, you
Makes
just
it hot,
don't,
the tires don't get hot, so it starts picking up and then it just creates a mess. And then with the steel rollers, of course, you're just
bridging,
bridging.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
straight edge, you hit
Yeah,
the top,
yeah.
top of the
Just
hump.
cupping the
that's all
top
you get.
off.
yeah. And it never gets
It
compacted.
never gets compacted
Yeah.
until we're done and trucks and traffic.
And sink it
Just
in
work
again,
through it.
yeah.
Oh,
just
and then
stop.
it compresses and now you have ruts again.
Then you have ruts again.
Dan, have those ruts always been there? I mean, they just get worse every single year?
Well, the last couple of years, they've gotten a lot worse. I mean, they've been getting, 10 years ago, they were there, but they're
Okay.
just getting
Okay.
deeper all the time.
No, the road is just totally
Yeah.
falling apart, that's
Yeah.
all.
I gotta
The
drive down
rocks were
there.
put in there probably, our ancestors put them in there to get through the mud.
Yep,
And what did they have? That was,
Right.
let's put the rock wall in there.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
it worked pretty well.
They weren't, pavement was an issue then.
No,
It was getting me across this thing.
right, right.
And we put a little gravel in it. The worst thing that showed up was a tar truck. You know, the spray tar and they put the sand over it, and then you couldn't grade it anymore. And then hot mix pavement come into the picture at, I don't know, mid-40s or so. So now the paving companies come around, not Pike, but, yeah, maybe Pike, maybe.
Let's just blame him, he's here, at least we're not talking about him on his back.
Yeah.
They come around, they say, we can pave that, so you pave that, and now you're faced with 3 inches of pavement
Right,
on a lousy base
Right.
with filled full of stones. And
Well, that's the other part of it is, if you look at that road, they've never done the 3-inch pavement. You know, they did an inch pavement,
Yeah.
30, 40
It's
years
like a
ago.
layer cake.
Then 20 years ago, they did another inch of pavement.
that's right.
So they just never put any amount there to hold anything.
That, and the rocks are up in your frost lens. When you get 5 or 6 feet of frost in a road, and that rock is trapped in that frost, and the rock comes up, as the frost comes up, creates a cavity underneath
Oh.
it. That cavity fills with debris, and rock can't go back down.
right.
Oh, trust me,
Right.
I dig them out, my lawn generates rocks every year that I dig out.
Mine
I
does too.
understand how a rock moves.
Yeah,
It's not
It's
even-
it's the same principle as the fence you put out in your backyard. You know, you string the fence out, straight posts together, come spring, them posts are all over.
That's why I switched to T-post instead of C-post, because they're smaller diameter and the frost don't move them as much.
so
But this road,
do we have to
Well, I mean,
declare a state
as
of
we
emergency?
keep going round and round and round, but, you know, I hear reclaiming, which at first I thought was a really good idea, but then we find, you can't go 12 inches. So if you don't go 12 inches, you're not gonna reclaim the ruts. If you're not gonna reclaim the ruts, then there's no sense to reclaim.
Well, the ruts are only really bad in that quarter-mile stretch right in front of my house, right?
And all the brook, the whole way from Kazmazaks down through,
Where's that? I don't know.
on the other side of the hill from you.
Headed
Go
towards Dexter.
Dexter.
you crest the hill and you come, and is there, I don't even think there's electricity in there, is it? That little
No, there's a
space?
stretch,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's no electricity.
Really? I thought that, I don't remember there being ruts in that part.
Yeah.
I always thought that was the.
They're
that's
not
where
as
it
bad,
hammered
they're
down.
really the worst right there by his house, that is the absolute
That is
worst.
definitely-
Oh, that's the
worst.
worst, but they're 6 inches over there instead of 8 by the ends.
Yeah, but the pavement's still like almost in a loop,
It's
it's not
still
like
6 inches
this.
though.
Wow, so it's broken through.
Yeah,
Oh
Oh,
my
it is.
gosh.
I'll have to pay attention, I guess.
Whoa. All right, so.
Oh, actually, we do that, we
need
take 2x4 over there and lay it out and drop tape
So,
measures and tell you really quick
what-
just how bad they really are, but I mean, if we're not gonna
We have to-
reclaim that section, there's no sense to reclaim, cause you're gonna leave strips of hot
We
top.
need some guidance as far as what we're gonna do here. I mean, I don't think that we, without,
Yeah, I almost feel like we're not any closer to the resolution than,
Maine local roads will pay me to come out and we'll walk the road and we'll get some measurements and, you know, she was driving at 60 miles an hour and I'm expecting her to what this thing looked like out there.
Yeah.
But, and we can look at it from trying to determine a factual-based decision on what we do.
Right, that's what we need to do.
If, that would, I think that's a good start.
Yep.
At least we'll have
Because-
someplace to,
And
The reference.
with dollar figures, if we do this with this and this and this, and for this section, it's gonna cost X number of dollars.
Break it
Because
up
we-
in sections, I like to use, is there utility poles out there?
Yeah,
Utility,
Mostly.
Part of it.
Most of
section,
it.
For most of it. But there's,
From
even
it.
where there isn't, there's a pole
Only
here,
half
Sure.
a mile
a pole on
stretch
the other
where
end,
there's
so.
no
Sure.
electricity.
But just the section where you're gonna be, there isn't a pole.
you know, that way it gives us a reference point, so
Yep.
you can look at it.
and map
say,
out the whole road. That's what we have to do. And we're gonna have to pick and choose what we're gonna do
As
and,
long as you don't want that done within the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I'm.
Yesterday would be alright. He'd like to pave that next week, so as soon as you can get that done.
Yeah, actually, I would.
I didn't think you could argue.
I see some pavement going on here.
I'm doing some.
I'll tell you what, 6 weeks ago, I didn't think you guys was gonna get out here and do anything for a while. I mean, so we can do that, for
Does
whatever
that
it's worth.
make sense? I mean,
yeah, I think it's the best option.
number.
It's
Yeah.
a number.
it's,
And-
as you
and
said, it's
strategy.
reality based. You know, it's based in, this is actually what it's gonna cost us to do exactly what is defined, you know, instead of, well,
And then we could maybe look at, gee, if you wanna add an extra half inch, it's what's gonna
Right.
cost you, but you might double the life of that road. Or if you spend a little on gravel here, you might, and we could give and take, but we don't have, we don't know anything.
I don't think the town has ever put a top coat on.
We did last year, didn't we? Didn't we do shim and overlay?
That one piece.
where was
So
that?
that's what
Where
you're
was
saying.
that on?
French's Mills.
But you said there's a rock coming out of
No,
French's.
that's a
on
different
the other
piece,
part.
but
Oh,
that wouldn't have anything to do, I mean,
Oh.
the rocks are moving around in
Sure,
there.
of course, I know.
Same as McPeter's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So,
Well-
okay.
I think,
Again, same way, I mean, your opinion would be, if you go across that way, look at it, if you
Yeah.
figure out something on
Right.
your end, that,
Oh, I
It
drive
is.
across it enough to want to camp.
so you'd like to see hot top on that as well.
That's what he's riding on, yeah. But you need some numbers, you guys
Right.
need some numbers.
Yeah, we do.
We do,
'cause we can't ask for a blank check,
that's right. And,
and we want a good, I mean, we know we're dealing with a less than perfect situation, but. We're not gonna build that road.
No, we're not. I mean, I'm not, it's not viable. There's no way, we don't have enough money.
From
we're
the
not
base
gonna-
up, you mean?
No,
Yeah.
You
no.
couldn't dig that out and rebuild it.
And it's not any different than the other road that we're dealing with. I mean,
Right,
they're all in
right.
the same boat.
right,
Correct.
right, okay.
All right, that's
Yep.
great.
That,
And it does sound to me though, like, even if we have to delay the 800 feet, assuming we're still gonna do it, we're better off to try to marry these together if we're gonna do more than 800, from a cost standpoint. And I'm sure if it's true for you, it's true with anybody that we
Yeah,
would
I
deal with.
mean, it's, I don't mind coming up and do that 800 feet. I would prefer to come up and do it all
Right.
at
Right.
once, whatever we decide to do.
Okay.
yeah,
Because actually that 800-foot piece is better than the rest of the road anyway. so
That's,
it's-
yeah, I'm not real panicked
There's no
about
immediate rush to get covered.
skipping it. I just, yeah, and there's plenty of other work to do, so.
and it's not going to deteriorate the way it is, correct? I mean,
We don't have to grade it again, I mean, it's not gonna hurt.
Right.
right, so it's okay for it to sit the way it is,
Oh, yeah.
just getting more and more compacted.
It's just,
Okay.
to me personally, it's more of a, we said last year, it will be paved this year, so before the end of the summer, I don't want anybody to say, you guys said you were gonna
I
pave it, and it's
know,
not
but
done."
yeah, well,
So I'd like to close that loop. I mean, it would, you're exactly right. That was the plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, personally, what I would like at minimum see is somehow to get from Hartford Lane to French's Mills paved. And then shim what we can shim down at a minimum. But at least that whole corridor that way is done. And then we're improving the rest of it, keep moving it forward.
All right, well, Appreciate your time and your input, both
Very
of you.
much so.
And if Phil, if you would connect with Lois and sometime in the next few weeks.
How close are you to the neighboring town line? So you could deed that road over to.
Yeah, exactly.
We've
Can't
got a
we
few of
give it-
those.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much.
That's cute.
Yeah, anytime. Not sure if we helped or confused
Oh,
it
no.
more or.
Well, I mean,
No, you
no, I
definitely
mean, talk about different things and.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of our situation. We have to
Right.
deal with it.
I'm gonna leave this book right there for you.
Okay, thank you.
But what
That's
process
good.
did they use to tear up all the pavement down there last year?
That's great.
Excavator.
Just broke it up.
So could they do that in the really bad spots?
Well, that's what I
This
was
year?
wondering.
That will be
Right.
assessed.
Yeah.
So you did that, you could put some gravel in with it.
Reshape it. Do the best you can.
Reshape it with gravel, but not lift it.
Yeah, just get a proper shape. I don't know.
Depends if the neighbors wanna listen to an excavator.
Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate your time.
Anything
Thank
better
you.
than nothing. Good luck.
Thanks,
Yeah, I
thank
think,
you.
Anything, give me a holler.
All right,
Thank
great, thank
you.
you.
Anything further from anybody?
No.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
yes, yeah, we do have an additional item.
Yeah, you have item 3.
Request for additional agenda items? We need to, put out a request for proposal for an assessor's agent.
Okay.
And, Lois you'll run these ads for us. This responsibility is ours, so we're gonna need to interview this applicant or applicants. I think Lois sitting in with us on that would be productive. 'Cause
Oh,
she
very
has
much so.
a background in this. So we need to make a decision to, give her a green light to run this.
Okay.
Where do we wanna run these? Local papers and MMA
I
maybe?
wouldn't run this in a local paper, I think that's gonna be pretty pricey.
That would be pretty pricey.
I would
$100
clean
a
it, all
pop.
I would short word it, I mean, I
Town
would just,
assess, or
town of
tax
Sangerville's
assessor.
looking for a
Tax assessor.
Yeah, and they can call
Bingo.
and get this.
That's
Correct.
right.
Well,
Call for an RFP.
And this will be on the website and we can put it on MMA.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't need to, that's all they have to do, if you put a posting out that we're looking for a tax assessor agent,
Yep.
they can call the office, they
Right,
don't need this.
right.
Short
Okay.
and sweet,
Advertise in all 3 papers.
I'd post it
Yeah.
on the website.
Small.
Yep.
Oh, one
Website
other thing, actually.
and MMA, wait.
Yep.
I have another
Just,
question though.
Slash.
We didn't come up with the date. I know in here it says, we'll review applications beginning June 1st. When do you actually want to start reviewing?
As soon as they come in,
Yeah, as available.
Okay, so,
we'll just add them on to.
I don't even know if we need a date. We're gonna keep
you can-
interviewing until we hire somebody.
well, right, and you can just say the position will remain open until
Yeah.
filled.
Correct.
Review
Perfect.
of, applications as they are received.
Yeah, yeah, no date.
And, if there's anything you want
My friends.
changed on, I'll email you this, and if there's anything you want different, let me know.
Yep, no, this is,
Nestled
looks good.
instead.
just a
Yeah, I don't
thumbnail.
want
Yeah,
this, I mean, just saying is.
Just
we'll
a thumbnail
start
for the
paying
paper.
an ad. I
No,
would
no,
keep it.
right.
Yeah,
This is what I would post on MMA, because that's
Sure,
free.
sure,
And that's,
yeah. as
You can
the-
post it that way on the website.
yes, correct.
Just get rid of the experience minimum of,
Yeah,
Just put, experience as a tax assessor is
I wouldn't even
desired.
put that.
you wouldn't?
I would.
You got that they have to have a license, right?
That doesn't mean they
Have any experience?
have experience, and you wanna make sure that they actually have knowledge of,
Well, you don't have to hire anybody that has no experience.
Correct.
But you
Correct.
might wanna talk to them.
Correct. There's an awful lot of people that you might find that might have had a wicked good background in other things that just took the course last fall that doesn't have any experience.
We don't have to hire them.
yeah, I don't know that I'd be because keep in mind, we have to put in the new trio too, the new update.
They definitely need to have an understanding of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if they don't have experience, they're not gonna have experience in trio. So you want me to take it out? I'll take it out. So applicant must have a CMA.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, Unless they're able to navigate Trio, we're not gonna hire them anyway, so.
Right.
Right,
Which would mean
right,
they'd have
that
some
will-
experience.
that will-
But that doesn't mean there's a tax assessor experience. You could have a clerk in any other town that has this Trio program that knows how to input or navigate, but never been a tax assessor, is what I'm saying.
Maybe.
But they've gotta have their CMA
Right, right.
Yes.
in
And then
addition.
we'll interview them, call them out.
So, anything else on that?
No.
Do you need, we should probably make a motion.
Yes.
To,
Place an ad?
yeah, to make a motion for to ask the town manager to put out a request for, proposal
Second.
Did,
for an assessor's agent.
okay, did you make it?
Yes, I'm making
Okay.
that motion.
Go ahead.
Second.
Okay.
And we've all voted and it's all in favor.
Unanimous.
And anything further?
On our website, notice today, never seen this before, if I clicked on the agenda for tonight's meeting,
Yes,
when it opens in a new tab,
yeah.
if you look up at the tab at the top, it says Town of Brownville.
Oh,
Did you hear a little mouse tell you that?
No.
Because Terry and I were working on it today, and we did the same thing. And I said, "Look, it says Town of Brownville. Why does it say that?" But we clicked on different ones, and they don't all come up and say Town of
Well,
Brownville.
none of them did.
No?
Just that
So
one.
do you know why
And
that one
I have no idea, other than
I looked
I
at it,
saved it on my computer and not yours.
the only thing I can think of is maybe somebody started a Word document that was titled, and then erased everything on it, deleted everything, but refilled that document, and it held the title. Because most of them say Microsoft Word.
Yes. Yeah.
Weird.
that
It's
is
very,
bizarre.
very weird.
Now, I don't know if you can copy and paste that onto a fresh Word document and get rid of Town of Brownville. It'd be,
Try that.
it'd be worth a
I'll try
try.
that. Oh my gosh,
So
I'll have to
anyway.
remember how to do that.
I just thought it was, I saw it at first, it's like,
What?
did I do wrong? So I closed out of it, clicked it again, nope, it's not me. So then I went through like every one of them this year, I was like, I've never noticed that before.
Oh, but that was the only
That
one.
was the only one that
That's
was doing it.
bizarre.
Yeah, and I think it is something to do with my computer, because I saved it to a PDF, and I think it had something to do with maybe when the PDF was downloaded, how that was, Adobe.
Mhm.
Maybe it's something to do with the ownership of Adobe. That's my thought.
Good.
Huh,
Anything further?
next meeting? Do we have a,
Next Wednesday.
oh, okay, I won't be here.
Okay.
Wanna do it Tuesday?
I have no problem with doing it Tuesday. Can you be here Tuesday?
Yes, I can, yep,
I just make a motion, we make it for Tuesday.
Okay.
A
I
second?
don't have a problem with Justin,
okay. Thank you.
unless you're trying to skip out.
No, no,
You just gotta give me a hint.
no, yeah.
All right,
Tuesday.
we're all in favor of
So
moving the
Tuesday
meeting?
is the, do you have a calendar? Just with the.
Right up there.
Yeah. just think.
It's the 15th.
Yeah, okay. No, yeah, Wednesday is the 14th. Oh, wait,
You looked at it in
Wrong
May?
month. Probably haven't switched months.
March,
Yeah.
May, okay, we're good. So Tuesday is the 15th, yep, that works great.
All right, and so he's not gonna be able to get back to us, he said, for a couple, 3 weeks, so we don't want this topic on next week, I'm assuming.
Correct. I mean, you won't have any
Everything to do.
to update, so. Do you want a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn? Oh, is that what you were
Well,
looking
to
for?
move the
Oh.
Wednesday's meeting to Tuesday.
Okay.
We did that.
Okay.
Dale made the motion, you seconded it.
All right. It's all, we voted, it's unanimous.
And I'm gonna second her motion, she just started.
All right,
Make
all in
one.
favor? We are adjourned.
Okay.